Welcome back to the Swearwolves. I'm Bret. Today we're going to present you with episode 3 of the Swearwolves Podcast. This is back September 24th, 2018. This was the third episode that we ever recorded. It was our first day of recording. So episodes 1, 2, and 3. We used to record 3 episodes at a time. Sometimes David and I still do. And this was our first day of recording. So we hadn't really gotten into the format of watching one movie. Back in the day, we used to watch 3 movies and review 3 movies per episode. It was a long fucking process, let me tell you. We hadn't gotten into that format yet. That will start, I believe, on episode 4, because after we record all these, we're like, hey, maybe we should start reviewing movies instead of just talking about horror-related stuff. However, this is not an episode where we review movies. Actually, we do a review. We talk about Terrifier, the first Terrifier movie, and I believe it's All Hallows Eve. I believe that's the short film that Terrifier was kind of based on. The main thing we talk about in this episode is arcade games that are horror related. David has a very large collection of pinball machines. Alan has a large collection of pinball machines. I used to have pinball machines. I don't really have them anymore. I moved across the country. It's very hard to take pinball machines with you. Enjoy episode 3, Swearwolves. This one's called Arcade Horror, People We Adore, and a whole lot of gore rhyming scheme there. Enjoy episode 3.
Welcome to the Swearwolves Horror Podcast, the podcast that discusses all things horror. I'm Bret.
I'm David.
I'm Alan.
And this is our 3rd episode. So welcome everybody once again. This episode, I want to start things off this episode talking about what kind of brought us all together, which is arcade video game and pinball collecting and how that relates to the world of horror. We talked briefly about the Walking Dead pinball machine in our last episode, and that's something that David and I both have, but there's a lot of horror related video games, arcade video games, and pinball machines out there. So what are some that you guys have had or do have in your current collections? Alan?
Right now, I have a Bram Stoker's Dracula machine made by Williams from 1993.
That's a great game.
It's fantastic. I've had it for going on 5 years now. I don't have a large collection of machines, but that one has always been the one constant to stay, whereas other machines have come and gone. Also picked up a Scared Stiff, Elvira Scared Stiff.
Another Williams.
Yeah, Bally.
Bally
Williams.
Bally Williams.
Yeah, so another really fun machine. It really captures the essence of Elvira, and it's a lot of fun.
I think Bram Stoker's Dracula, that's one that I want to get in my collection eventually someday. The mist multi-ball, the ball that just kind of floats across float is a pretty loose term, but
It still looks cool. If you haven't
does.
played the game, there's a magnet that's underneath the machine that drags the ball, so it looks like the ball's moving by itself.
Yeah.
It's a really good effect. And then you have to, with the other ball in play, kind of hit that ball, and then if you can
to knock
break
it off the
break
magnet.
it loose,
Yeah.
then you've got a quick, got a 2-ball multi-ball going.
Multi-ball, yeah.
For many years, that machine used to not get a lot of respect, and it's for a pinball machine, it's very difficult. It's very hard to play.
It's a really hard game,
and
it will punish you for making bad shots for sure.
It's not very popular on routes. It didn't earn a lot, so
Is it also because the movie probably didn't earn a lot?
It could be, but for a pinball machine, it was definitely unpopular for its time. Outside of actually places like goth clubs and stuff like that, you could find them. But overall, it didn't get a lot of play. But in recent years, it's become a very desired machine. And I'm proud to own one. Dave, you have one too.
Yeah, mine's it's my second one. Well, so I had one several years ago, and I got rid of it. I think I sold it, and instantly regretted it. So then when I started getting pinball machines again, that was one that I had to get back. So the one I got now, it's nicer than the first one I had. And I've got some mods and stuff that I've done to it to kind of trick it out a little bit. But yeah, I love that game. It's a great game.
And Scared Stiff, you both have that one.
Yep.
And that's another one that's one of those that I would love to have. Elvira Scared Stiff is probably one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
I love that game. It's funny, like it's got adult humor. It's just a fun game to play. The artwork, like the translate art, is really cool. There's like a spinning spider wheel behind it, so it's like interactive. I took my translate to I think Mad Monster. This is going back a few years. And got Elvira to sign it, so my translate signed. I think Alan's is too.
Yeah, I was lucky to
last
get mine
Monsterpalooza.
signed at Monster Palooza when she was there.
Yeah, we met her earlier this year.
Right.
I always forget it was earlier this year.
Yeah,
It seems like
it
so
feels,
long.
it feels
ago.
like longer than that. It does.
But that was at Mad Monster this year. We waited a while for her, but she was the first person we went and see.
Oh, no, this is Monsterpalooza, right?
Monsterpalooza, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the first person we went and saw. This was in Pasadena. And she was so nice, Cassandra Peterson.
Yes.
And she was so nice. She wasn't in her Elvira outfit, but still stunning
She's a good-looking lady,
and
for sure.
still very nice. My wife and I got our photograph with her, and she signed an autograph, an 8x10 for us. And I know you guys were right there with us the entire time. And we talked about the upcoming Elvira 3 pinball machine that Stern is going to be producing, which had been rumored at that point, but we took that opportunity. I know David and I were sitting there talking to her manager or her handler, or I don't know what he is, but he answered a lot of questions that we had about it, and she was going to record some voice over.
When she told us specifically, I think she even like chimed in and was like, "Yeah, I'm recording." And at the time, this was like back in April or something. She's like, "Oh, next week, I'm going into the studio to record all the call outs and some of the audio for the game." She said that she had seen the artwork, and I don't know if that's concept drawings or she actually saw like.
Now, who did the artwork on Scared Stiff? Greg Ferris? Now he's going to be doing the artwork on this one.
Right.
And who was the game designer?
Dennis Nordman.
Dennis Nordman, who doesn't work for Stern any
That's
longer.
correct.
Yeah,
So-
my understanding is he handed the project off, right? On this one, I think he had done most. He was pretty far into it, I think.
I
and
think
then-
he actually completed it. And I
Okay.
think now, I believe it's George Gomez at the helm. I'm not entirely
that sounds
sure.
right. I think you're right.
But he's another great
And so
designer.
And so for those of you who aren't into pinball, this might be a little boring, but who's doing the code? Is it Lyman?
Oh, that I don't know.
God,
I
if
do
it's
not know.
Lyman
Lyman's
Sheets
always
is
great.
probably the greatest coder.
Yeah, he's good.
Rachel, help us out.
Yeah, exactly right. But that's a game, Elvira 3, that I think I would have to try to pull the trigger on if I could.
Yeah,
if
I
I can
think I would.
financially swing it.
I'd have to sell some stuff.
Dave, you're gonna need to make some
I'll
room.
no, at this point, I think I gotta sell some stuff.
So before we get to Dave's, I guess I'll just mention is that your two horror?
you've got horror arcade games.
Yeah, I got
Like
a
your
Satan's
video games.
Hollow,
Oh, Satan's Hollow,
which
yeah.
I love.
That's kind of horror themed.
And I had one before, but it was a reproduction cabinet, and I'm kind of like, I kind of want the real deal, so I actually sold it, and I was lucky enough to find another one. Satan's Hollow, you don't really see very often, considering the theme. A lot of them were made into other games.
And that's another Williams game, right?
It's
Bally
Midway.
Midway.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bally Midway. Okay.
So it came out in '82, which was a great year for arcade machines. I also have a Sinistar by Williams.
That's the one I was thinking of.
And a
Sinistar.
Robotron, which is a little, science fiction in there too. So,
But a great game.
A great
Mhm.
game. There's some great horror themed and sci-fi themed games. And I know Dave, you have a few as well.
Yeah, so video games. I also have a Satan's Hollow, and I have a Sinistar. I actually got the Sinistar cab from Alan.
That's right.
Yeah, it was an empty cabinet, and then I kind of pieced it together, and now it's complete, and it's upstairs. So I've got those two. I have Berserk, so kind of along the lines of Robotron, kind of a sci-fi theme of like robots trying to kill you, but it still fits. And then I've got in the garage, a project. I've got a Midway haunted house from 1972. EM like shooter, like rifle game.
Electromechanical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, electromechanical game that I'm hoping to have up and running soon, but that one's been kind of sitting stagnant for a while. But now the weather's starting to get nicer, so hopefully I can get some progress done on that one. And then for pinball, like I mentioned before in the last episode, I've got a Walking Dead, and then I also have a Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I love that pin.
I love that game, and that's kind of like the same thing with my my Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's my second one. That was another game I had and I sold and I regretted it and got another one. This one, the marquee signed by Rico Browning, who played the Gill Man or Creature from the Black Lagoon in the original movie.
Oh, wow.
He did all the underwater scenes. And then it's also signed by Julia Adams, who was the female lead in the movie. They were both really, really nice. Obviously,
They got to be 100 years old.
they're up there. They're both in their 80s, I think. But they were just, couldn't have been nicer people. So that was cool.
Had
And
they
then-
signed a lot of translates?
I don't know. Neither. They were both pretty quiet. Yeah, I don't. I didn't get the sense that they have signed many of them, but they both thought it was cool. They're like, "Oh wow, this is really neat."
Yeah.
And then next to that game, I've got the Scared Stiff that I mentioned earlier that was signed by Elvira. And I got that one signed at a different show. That was at a Mad Monsters show here in Phoenix a few years back, and she was dressed as Elvira for that one. So my wife and I got a photo. It's the only time I've done one of these photo op things at a show, like where they have like the fake background and everything. For her, we had to do it. So at the last Monsterpalooza that the three of us went to, I took the photo from that first meeting, and she signed that, which was pretty cool. And then next to that, I've got a Monster Bash, which might be my all-time favorite pinball machine. I love that game.
It's very Universal Monsters.
Yeah,
Yes.
Universal Monster. It's like a combination of Universal Monsters with a rock band theme. So each member of the Universal Monsters plays a different instrument. You have to get the band together. The artwork is really good. The soundtrack is great. It's hilarious. It's got really
And
good humor. It's
they're
a
just
cool game.
remaking
Yep,
this.
now they're going to remake
Getting
it.
the remake treatment.
Yeah, which I think is cool. I think a lot of collectors tend to get upset like when games get remade. They're like, "Oh, it's going to hurt the value of my game." Who cares?
Yeah, who
It is a great
cares?
game. I hope every single person who wants one can have one because it's worth owning if you can get one.
Yeah.
And then next to that, I got Dracula, and then I've got a an Addams Family machine that's pretty nice.
Everybody loves that game.
And that's another one. I had one, and then I sold it. And I don't learn apparently. So
No.
There's a few games I've owned more than once.
yeah, but most of the ones I've owned twice, like that's it. Like, hopefully I won't own that game. A third
Going
time.
back to Monster Bash real
Yeah.
quick, there was an arcade game that you used to have
Oh yeah,
called
yeah,
Monster
I
Bash.
did, and
a
I don't
video game.
have it anymore. But Sega made a game
Sega.
called Monster Bash, which was I was gonna say it was a really good game, but that's not true. It's an okay game.
It's very different though than the
Yeah, it was. It's hard to explain. It was a little bit Donkey Kong. It was a little bit
It was a little
Pac-Man.
elevator
little
action,
bit
a little
elevator
bit.
action,
Yeah,
Mappy
a
Land.
little
Like
bit.
it was kind of a hodgepodge of lots of different games, and
Yeah.
and you put it all together, and you basically just have a very okay game.
I thought it was a cool looking game.
It was really
had
cool looking,
sounds.
but it was a very rare game. I got a really
Yeah.
good deal on it, and it was one of those where somebody like I did good on that one. I sold that for a lot more than I paid for it.
Yeah.
Which helped finance, and that's kind of the idea is
buy low, sell
not
high.
to flip, but yeah, exactly. Like as you're trying to get other games, like
Sometimes
sell the
you gotta
games that make the most sense.
sacrifice.
Sometimes you gotta strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And then I've got a Ghostbusters premium machine. And that one I met Ernie Hudson at a Comic-Con or whatever the
Phoenix Comic
Phoenix version
Comic
that's no
Fest
longer
or-
called they got sued or something. I don't know. Whatever the hell they're calling it now.
Yeah.
Ernie Hudson signed my translate on that one, and he was really cool. He mentioned he has a Ghostbusters in his house. Ernie Hudson was also in Congo. And he mentioned he's got a Congo in his house, which I thought was kind of neat. But he was fun to talk to. And you could
Another
tell he was into
underrated
it.
game that
Congo's
is starting
a great
to
game.
find
Congo's
its,
great. Congo is a great
yeah.
game.
Ernie Hudson did the call outs for
He did, yeah. He did all the
Ghostbusters.
call-outs for Ghostbusters, which made it special. So, yeah, that was a cool one. I think that's it for my horror games.
except for the fact that your game room both upstairs and downstairs.
That's probably worth sharing. So I have two game rooms in my house. So I've got a downstairs and an upstairs. The upstairs room, we call it room 237. It's kind of themed after The Shining. So it's got like the door is painted brown and it has 237 on the outside. So when you enter, it looks kind of like a hotel room. And I've got the hotel room key, like a replica of the key from the movie with the tag on it that's hanging on the door. And then my downstairs game room.
And you don't have the carpet anymore?
No, I had the carpet, like the pattern from the hotel
Hallway.
in the movie. Yeah, or the hallway. But it was more of a rug, really, and the quality was really crappy, which I should have known because it was really cheap when I bought it. I was like, "Oh, this is a great deal." But it would lift. It was just a huge pain in the butt. So I took the carpet out. So now all that's really like the quote unquote theme is the door, and then I have a photo hanging up, which is like the final shot of the movie, like the picture with Jack Nicholson in it. That's hanging in the game room.
Yeah.
But then the downstairs game room, that one's actually like a hidden room. So when I bought this house, the previous owners had done a room addition. So the room was added to like the back of the house. So I've got it set now. There used to be French doors that led to the room. My dad and I built a bookcase now that replaced the French doors. So we have this facade that's a bookcase, and you pull a specific book. It's the handbook for the recently deceased from Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And when you pull that book, it opens the door, and then you can go in. And then just to make it weirder, each shelf, or every other shelf rather, on the bookcase itself is motorized. So the books like move forward and backwards, kind of like it's haunted. So it looks like ghosts are moving the.
And you have this all documented.
It's all documented. So if you want to see it, I'm going to do it. Plug
away.
Website. If you go to zombies8myarcade.com, that's the name of my downstairs game room. And I've got several videos of the bookcase in action and
cool.
a couple tour videos of the game room.
Yeah, it's very cool. And you kind of go into more detail, I think, on the website about how you built it.
Yeah. There's like step-by-step stuff. So you can see it like as it's being constructed, and I kind of document, how we went about doing it.
Yeah, I remember before I met you, I watched your videos and I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. And then I came over here and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And now I've been over here a bunch and I'm like,
whatever.
That's
No,
all right.
it's old hat now. I kind of forget that it exists. And it's funny, I kind of, I forget about it too. And then sometimes we'll have guests over and they're like, wait, what? What is that? Like, and I'll show them like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I only got 2 horror related games. I have Walking Dead, but I also have a Tales from the Crypt.
That's
pinball.
a great pinball.
I
machine.
love that game.
It is. I was playing it today. It's a great game.
It's a great,
The call outs from the Crypt Keeper.
and the little laughs. Like,
Yeah.
the artwork's really cool.
Oh, yeah. And I have the alternate
the alternate translate.
which is cool. I have both, but the alternate translate's in there right now. And it's just a really good game.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
You got to get John Cassier to sign the
I know. I want to.
translate.
He was at Son of Monster Palooza last year, and I was hoping to meet
Yeah,
him.
he was at Mad Monster a few years ago here too.
Yeah.
I met him at, I can't remember what it was called. It was some like convention that I don't think is around anymore. At least I can't remember what it was called. But I met him at one of those, and I got him to sign like an 8x10. But one thing I kind of kick myself, and he probably still does it at his shows, but like he has a deal where like you give him your cell phone and he'll set up your voicemail. So like if
As
people
the
call
Crypt
you as
Keeper?
the Crypt Keeper.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great. So we talked briefly about Elvira. I got to tell you, like I crush hard on Elvira, like both in costume and out of costume.
I
Like
agree. She's
when
a
I
lovely
met her
woman.
out of costume, of course I was with my wife, which I
Had to
love.
tone it down.
I love my wife more than I love Cassandra Peterson, but she is absolutely stunning and beautiful, and a very nice person too. But as Elvira, as a younger person, she was just awesome.
Yeah.
And so she was kind of like my, not my only crush, because I mean, I'm sure there was other people that I crushed on in movies. Did you guys have specific horror movie crush girls?
Yeah.
Or men?
Well, I remember
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that at all. I remember watching Return of the Living Dead on TV, and I had to have been 12 or 13. And I was like, my God, who is this? She is so hot. And it was Linnea Quigley.
Yeah.
And of course, it was on on television, and they had the scene in the graveyard kind of, edited for TV. But man, it made an impact. Like, oh, she was absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And I was lucky enough to meet her. Monster Palooza.
That was
Son of Monster Palooza.
Oh,
And
oh yeah. That
it was
Son of-
Son
yeah.
because he was so nervous
Oh,
and I had to basically break the ice.
I needed a
for him.
wingman.
It was kind of adorable.
Yeah.
I had to go up
Yeah.
there and go, Linnea, my friend here really wants to talk to you. And she's like, oh, really?
Yes.
And then Alan
He
was
pulled like the
"Yeah,
whole
I'm shocky shock.
Jim Carrey, the Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber, where he's sitting at the bar with the hat like pulled over his eyes, putting out the
I
vibe.
like you a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
But then we talked to her for like 15, 20 minutes.
Oh yeah,
It was great.
absolutely.
Because no one else came.
And wasn't she like?
Oh.
I remember she had some 8x10s at her table, and the quality was just kind of. And you had brought one with you that was really, really cool, and I seem to remember her being really excited about it.
Right. So, I had brought a photo of her, and it's a really badass image. It's a shot from her. It's a shot of her from Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really cool scene. Like it's her with a chainsaw and she's got blood all over and she's wearing like face paint. It's a really cool image and she's topless and it's awesome. So I brought that and she thought it was the coolest. She's like, wow. She's like, I don't have this photo. And I was like, yeah, I got her to sign it, but she had other cool photos too. And so I had to get something from Return of the Living Dead, my first experience of watching her. So I ended up getting 2 photos signed by her.
Now, she also I took a picture of you guys.
Yes.
With her phone. She wanted a picture.
Yes.
That's right. She
How
wanted a
could
picture
she
with
not
you.
get a picture?
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Hello.
She had a bunch of pictures with fans on her phone because I looked. But no, I thought that was kind of interesting though. She wanted to have a picture
Yes.
with you as well, which was kind of cool.
And you know what? She gave me her email.
She did. Did you ever email her?
Oh, I wouldn't know what to say.
And she wrote it like on a back of like a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah,
menu
she
or
had
something.
a restaurant menu. Yeah, some kind of menu, and I have it somewhere. so I
Alan
need to
Alan
find
had delusions of
Oh.
grandeur about calling her up and having her meet us in the hotel.
I remember
room
like
and hanging
watching
out
it
with her.
happen and thinking that like, was she like giving you like her room number?
I was the
or-
biggest geek. I was just like frozen and just awestruck. But
Yeah.
she was absolutely gracious and very, very wonderful person.
Yeah, she was really nice.
Yeah.
Barbara Crampton.
Barbara.
Barbara. Oh, Barbara. There's also Barbara Crampton.
Now, I didn't see her at Monsterpalooza. I didn't get a chance. I was waiting in line for Cassandra Peterson. You guys went over. I think I got Barbara Crampton's autograph
Yeah.
real quick
Yes.
and then came back in line. I did not know of Barbara Crampton, really. I recently watched Chopping Mall
Yes.
and I said, oh, Barbara Crampton's in this. And then I saw this beautiful woman
Yes.
and I said, that's Barbara Crampton? She was awesome.
Yeah,
Yep.
she was in Reanimator.
Reanimator.
From Beyond.
From Beyond, which is one of my personal favorites.
I haven't seen that one.
It's really good.
Absolutely great horror effects, and she was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
She's also done Young and the Restless. She's in a lot of stuff. She's done soaps. She's done horror, and it was an absolute pleasure to meet her. And like Linnea, I was just awestruck. Another crush that I finally got to meet.
She was really easy to talk to,
Yes.
which I thought was cool. Like she was really nice, very warm, very very genuine.
Tell you what, I had kind of a crush. Well, it's hard to say it was a crush because, like, I'm a lot younger than some of these people that are actresses, and I would watch older movies of them and be like, oh God, this person was so beautiful. But I remember Pam Grier,
Yeah.
when she was in those movies in the 70s, she was absolutely beautiful. I mean, she's still a pretty lady, but she's much older now.
Yeah.
And even in Jackie Brown,
Yes.
she was
still
beautiful.
looking good. Yeah.
And I got a chance to meet her, and she was very nice and everything. But it's just funny because it's like you put these people like on a pedestal almost, and they're just fucking people.
Yeah.
She was just
Right.
she was wearing her. Remember she had like a cowboy
a
hat,
weird- yeah.
some fringe
It was like a burlap sack almost. Like
with fringe hanging down.
I'm not one to give fashion criticism, but it was an interesting getup for sure.
It was.
Very
She was-
Western.
She was really nice though, and she talked to me about Quentin Tarantino, which was awesome because it's like I was one person away from Quentin Tarantino in that moment. Like I absolutely love Quentin Tarantino and all of his films, and it's like this person worked with him.
Yeah.
So
Dave, who do you got?
She's just real quick on her. She was one that I wanted to meet, and I find I do this sometimes at conventions. I'm sure you guys are the same way. Like you'll kind of walk by somebody's table and you'll look at like the 8x10s and stuff that they have out there, and you're like, oh, I don't like any of those. And that's how she was
All
like,
the time.
Pam Grier, like all the stills and 8x10s she had out were from like. There weren't even like cool pictures. A lot of them were just like kind of just like posy, like almost. I don't know. Just none of them. I was like, I don't like any.
She
of
was
these.
so sexy though back in the 70s, and when she was like coffee.
Yeah, but she didn't have
Or
anything from
Foxy
Coffee
Brown.
out there. I don't
She
think.
did too.
Did she? I don't know.
That was the one I got.
Okay.
But the images weren't good.
I wanted something like from like Ghosts of Mars or like maybe Mars
Some of the
Attacks or something.
shitty
Yeah,
movies.
but that's what I wanted. That's why I go to those. I wanted something that fit the theme.
Sometimes there's a movie that you connect with, and
Yeah.
you know, you go to their table expecting to see images
Yeah,
from
yeah,
that
and it
film,
wasn't.
and it doesn't always happen.
Well, I guess you would think at a horror movie
Yeah.
convention, something like from Attack from Mars or Ghosts of Mars would be there more so than.
Yeah, and
Foxy
sometimes
Brown.
the picture like makes the difference. Like
Yeah.
So for my crushes, one of them actually that transitions nicely is Natasha Henstridge, who when I met her at her table, like she had pictures from Species, which I'm sure obviously is the movie she is most known for, and is you certainly see the most of her. But she also had a still from Ghost of Mars, which is just a guilty pleasure of mine. So I was
That's
like,
what
yeah,
you got?
I
Ghost
got
of
a
Mars?
Ghost of Mars picture. She's like,
You said she was really nice too.
she was super nice. Like, yeah, she was another one, kind of like Barbara Crampton, really easy to talk to. Just seemed like she enjoyed being there and talking to people, which is always a pleasure.
That must mean she's a really good actress.
She's a a fantastic actress. But Barbara Crampton was another one. I was glad I got to meet her. One that I haven't met that's on my list that I would like to would be Jill Whitlow, who, and I'll be honest, I had to look her name up because, as mentioned, and will continue to be mentioned on the show, I'm sure a lot, I really like Night of the Creeps. And she is the female lead in that movie. And I just remember the first time I saw the movie, I was like, oh, this girl is so cute. And I don't think she did a whole lot of other stuff, but like, I just thought it was a cool role. And I thought she was just really cute.
The gal who's in Chopping Mall with Barbara Crampton, who was also in Night of the Comet.
Kelly Maroney.
Yeah.
I crushed on her from Night of the Comet.
Yeah.
And I saw that she was in Chopping Mall, and I was like, I want to meet her one of these days.
Yeah.
She seems like a really cool chick.
Yep, I would agree.
There's a lot of, I mean, not to say crushes, but there's a lot of dudes that I want to meet too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want this to sound kind of sexist, like we're like, oh, we just go there to
Yeah,
meet all these women that we crushed on when we were 12. And watching USA Up All Night, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. But yeah, these are just people that we kind of like grew up watching and admiring, and well, you know, you do have your crushes, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure we're the same. Like,
When you're a kid, they're larger than life.
Yeah. Who else you got on your list? You got some people on
I
your
wrote
list.
a
Here. Jamie Gertz.
I was thinking like Lost Boys.
Yeah.
He was cute in that
Yeah,
one.
no, she was definitely.
Rose McGowan in Scream and in Grindhouse.
By the way, can we just say that no one would ever die the way that Rose McGowan died in Scream? Like no human being.
Yeah, garage doors don't work that way.
No, garage doors don't work that way. And even if they did, there would not be enough force to do whatever it did to her. Snap her back.
Snapped her neck. Like, yeah.
Just left her dangling there.
That wouldn't happen.
No. She's faking it.
That was a weird scene. That's a scene that like is
That's
very,
the worst.
It's very dated now too. Like when you watch it, it's very mid '90s. Like she's got like bright like neon colors,
Green
on and stuff.
shirt.
Yeah,
But it's the worst death in that movie.
it's pretty bad. And she makes that really weird face right before she dies. She like looks up at the motor before it crashes. She goes, and then it crushes her head. Yeah, and then she gets the death twitches.
Rose McGowan deserves so much better.
Well, she got the cool the machine gun leg.
Yeah,
in
Planet Terror.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for my list. I mean, I got a couple others, but
Yeah.
that's good.
No, it's that's
Otherwise, I'm just gonna sound creepy.
you already do.
I'll work those into other episodes.
Well,
Stay tuned.
of other people that I would like to meet, men. The top of my list, we've talked about this many times, is John Carpenter.
Yes.
Like I would love it if he would show up to one of these.
Yes, agreed.
Tom Atkins.
Yep.
Tom Atkins.
Atkins
Back to
for-
Halloween 3.
Halloween 3, The
And
Fog,
Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps.
Yeah.
He's done a
Thrill
lot of
me.
good stuff.
Yeah.
John Carpenter, though, kind of like Robert Englund. He's one I would wait in a very long line.
Oh, I'd wait
Yes.
longer than 8 hours.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Kurt Russell. I'd spend a few nights just waiting to meet him.
You know what was cool about meeting? we talked about Monsterpalooza, or Son of Monsterpalooza last year when they have the cast of the thing. Who was it that we met that had all the Polaroids?
Oh, shoot! It was the guy that played. Was the guy that played Fuchs?
No, it
Wasn't Joe Polis?
I don't think it was Joe Polis.
Was it the guy who played Windows?
It was Windows.
Windows?
Tom Waits, not the singer, songwriter.
Yeah, no,
Thomas Waits.
it was him, and he had a photo album
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
all these Polaroids that he took, and like old like Kodak,
From the set.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it
behind
was-
the
it
scenes
was
stuff.
really
It was
cool.
really cool.
and they were just kids, I mean,
Yeah.
with the exception of Kurt Russell, who had been around for a while at that point. He was a child actor. These were all guys who probably their first movie.
yeah. Or at
I
least
mean,
their
I
fir- or at
guess
least their
Wilford
first-
Brimley also had been
Yeah.
around for a while, but a lot of these guys, this was their first film, and they were just kids like hanging out. Where'd they film that, in Greenland or some shit?
I don't remember.
I think it was in Antarctica.
No,
It wasn't?
I think it's
Yeah.
too cold.
Well, yeah, look at the movie. I mean,
I don't know.
I think it was Burbank.
Burbank.
No, I think
It
they
was
were
a
up
Hollywood-
like in
it was a
Sweden
backlot.
or Greenland or
they were up there. I
someplace.
know that.
It was just really cool seeing like that human side,
Yeah.
like we talked about before. Like everybody's human.
Well, and didn't he even say like how he got his name in the movie? Like his character originally had a different name. It wasn't Windows, and they went to a bar or something like
Yeah.
between takes or after a day of shooting or something, and some like biker guy called like another guy at the bar Windows because the guy was wearing glasses,
Yeah.
and he like asked John Carpenter. He's like, "Hey, for my character, like, can I be called Windows?" And John Carpenter's like, "Yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, do whatever you want. Yeah, whatever." So yeah, he's like,
You
"All
gotta
right,
love-
I'm Windows now," and
you
he's all
gotta-
excited about it.
You gotta love John Carpenter because he doesn't give a fuck.
No, he's getting paid. As long as you're getting paid,
Yeah.
he's good.
I've been on this like kick where I watch a lot of short films on YouTube, short horror films. We talked about in our first episode, Don't Hike Alone or Never Hike Alone. But I watch a lot of ones that are shorter than that, 10 to 15, 20 minutes maybe. And one of them was Terrifier, which I know, David, you watched.
I
Alan,
did.
Alan,
Yep.
you didn't watch this one?
I haven't watched it yet.
And there's also a feature-length film that's on Netflix right now, Terrifier. Came out last year before?
Yeah, I think last year.
Last year might when it
Something
was
like that.
released. It might have been filmed a couple years ago.
And there's two of them, right?
Well, technically yes. There's a movie called All Hallows Eve, which was filmed before Terrifier, which has Art the Clown. Is this fucking clown's name?
He's your baddie.
Yeah, he's your killer. But Terrifier is the one to watch, I think. Do you want to talk about the short film first?
Sure. It was interesting. It's shot like in a style that was kind of like if you've seen Grindhouse,
Yep.
where like the picture is deliberately distorted and there's dust marks and noise and stuff, which, if I'm being honest, I thought was a little derivative. But I thought the story was interesting. There's only a few characters in it, but it's a short kind of game of cat and mouse, and to its credit, the makeup effects in Gore were really good.
Yeah. Okay. I almost don't want to talk about this one. I almost want to talk about this one second
Yeah, you
and
want to
talk about the feature length
sure?
film.
Yeah.
Because I want to come back to a portion of this. So Terrifier, the movie, the feature length film. It opens up with a shot of a television talk show going on. And this woman, the host, is interviewing a survivor from a psychopathic killer that had killed a year ago. She was the only survivor. And the first time you don't really see the face of the survivor. And it cuts back to the host and she's asking her questions, and then it cuts back to the survivor. And the survivor is fucked up. Like her face is fucked.
Yeah, her face is
Like it's not even a face.
It's an
Like you
abomination.
ever seen that chick that got her face ripped off by the chimpanzee?
No.
Yes.
Okay, it's that.
It's pretty gruesome.
grew. You never saw that?
I don't think so.
There was this
But
chick
it
like
did
in
look
New
bad,
Jersey
like-
who got her face ripped off
Like a
by
baboon or
chimpanzee.
something.
It was a chimpanzee.
Did she get a face transplant?
No.
Okay.
Well, she did. The chimpanzee transplanted her face from her head to his mouth. Like she's fucked.
I
and
always
she
feel bad,
looks
like
like it.
when people like you see those videos sometimes of, like people get face transplants. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, this person was so messed up, and now they got this new face, and the face is it's always
Yeah.
really scary. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, good for you.
But think about this: like when breast implants first started, it was like 2 rocks in your under your chest, right? And now look at them.
yeah.
So face transplants in like 10 years.
Someday, yeah, we'll all have new faces.
Yeah.
You might get to meet Kurt Russell after all. I'll have his face
I want to take his face.
off.
That fucking movie. How do you smoke with no lips? You ever notice that? There's this scene where he doesn't have a face and he's smoking a cigarette. It's like you don't have. If you're just using your teeth, you can't smoke a cigarette. Fucking movie. I saw that in the theater. Anyway, so her face is fucked. And then we're back in the dressing room after the show, and the host is like, talking to her boyfriend on the phone. I can't wait for the numbers to come out tomorrow. I'm going to be a fucking star. This chick's face was fucked up. I almost threw up during the thing. Da 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 da. I'll talk to you later. Bye. She hangs up her phone, and there's a noise, of course, like off in the distance. And she's like, Tommy, is that you? Or whatever she says, right?
And she's still at the studio, right?
She's still at the studio. She's in her
Backstage.
dressing room. Of course, everybody's fucking gone.
Oh, of
Like,
course.
because that's what
Yeah.
happens
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the world.
You're all by yourself.
And she goes and investigates, and the fucking fucked up face bitch jumps her and proceeds to rip her face off and poke her eyeballs out. Talk about gore.
Yeah,
This-
it was intense.
Was sick. She rips this bitch's face apart, and eyeballs are dangling and poked out, and
Well, she must have heard what she was telling her
she
boyfriend.
did.
Oh,
It was pretty shocking. Yeah.
She did. So now you're like, what the hell's going on? What am I watching? And then it cuts to like a whole different thing, like a whole different storyline. And there's this fucking clown who was watching the interview, supposedly, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Because they never found his body after he killed everybody.
so the clown's the killer.
Art the clown was the killer.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, they never found his body after it was delivered to the morgue. So, and faceless chick is like, oh no, he's dead. Or she's like, and they're like, yeah, he's dead. I saw
That
her.
means he's dead.
But he's not dead, supposedly, because he's kicking the TV and he's like, fuck this shit. And he's putting his makeup back on. And now he's wandering through the streets. And when I say clown, like, this makes.
He's this very scary looking clown.
Like,
Like he
is-
makes Gacy look
Like
tame.
bozo.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, he.
Well, some people don't like Bozo.
He makes whatever clown you think is the
So
least threatening.
his makeup's like black and white, almost like a mime, and he's got
Yeah.
like kind of a big, kind of hooked nose. Like his teeth
He's
are like
ugly.
black. Like
Yeah.
it's just gross.
Yeah, he's ugly as
He's
fuck,
gross.
and he is like a mime because the motherfucker doesn't talk,
Yeah.
doesn't laugh, doesn't make any sound.
Yeah, he just smiles and
He's a
makes
creepazoid,
gestures and stuff.
and he follows these 2 chicks. I mean, we can go on and just relive the whole movie, but basically,
I will say I enjoyed the scene with the 2 main women they're like in a restaurant and they're talking, and one of the girls like says like, I got to go take a piss, and like there's several there's probably 2 or 3 like pee jokes
Yeah.
in the movie, which I thought was weird, like, and they're told by women, which makes it funnier, like for some reason, like they're talking about like, oh, I got to take a really big piss.
yeah, yeah. So I don't even know where to begin. It's just gory.
There's a kill. I mean, do you want to jump ahead like to what, at least in my opinion, is one of the craziest kill? This movie's got a couple.
The hacksaw.
Yeah. So there's a woman. It was the girl that had to take the big pee. Eventually, she gets captured, and Art the clown like strings her up upside down, like she's hanging by her feet from chains, and her legs are spread, and
She's naked.
She's naked, and he takes this saw
Which has to be the sharpest fucking saw in the history of saws.
and just starts cutting from the middle, if you catch my drift. and just keeps on going and cuts all the way to her head and cuts this woman almost all the way in half, but doesn't quite finish the job.
Because he gets stopped for some reason.
Still a little bit of flesh at the top of
That's
the head.
a lot of cutting.
And he does it in a matter of seconds too.
Yeah. And it's really gross, and she's screaming the whole time, and her friend, I think, sees it,
forced to watch.
watches it.
Yeah.
It was really pretty disturbing.
Yeah. It's disgusting. And then he the other scene is the pizza guy, the guy who he fucks up in the pizza parlor.
Oh yeah.
The owner of the pizza parlor, and then the worker who has to clean up his shit because he shit all over the bathroom. Like, this movie is...
That was towards the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah. This
yeah.
movie is off the rails. And it never gets back on the rails. And it just continues to go from chopping people's heads up to fucking sawing women in half through their vagina all the way to their head. And then, come to find out at the end that the woman who's this is all what happened a year ago, is what we find out. And the woman who survives is actually not one of even the main two women. She's the sister of one of them who's come to pick them up because their car tires are flat. She gets her face eaten off by Art the Clown, who eats her face. And then he gets shot. Yeah, he gets shot by the police.
I don't.
Yeah.
So I just watched this movie yesterday.
Yeah, I know,
don't
right?
Remember.
Yeah, because it's so like fucked up. But anyway, he goes to the morgue, and we come to find out that this chick is the chick from the beginning who rips off the face of the news host, right? Which is like not a surprise. Like, I was like, oh well, I kind of gathered that.
Yeah.
But okay, this is the part that I don't like. Okay. I actually dug the movie up until the end.
Yeah.
And this is why I was going to come back to the short film. Because at the end, Art the Clown got fucked up. He got shot. He's dead. He's in the morgue. He's not breathing. They brought him to the morgue. And now the mortician's about ready to... He unzips him and he is looking at his dead body. And then the lights go out. They start like flickering and all this weird shit starts happening. And all of a sudden the lights come back on and Art the Clown is alive and he's choking the mortician. End of movie, right?
Yeah.
In the short film, he is like teleports from one place to the next. And he's like, all of a sudden, he's not human. He's like a demon.
Yeah. And he's like, he appears kind of everywhere.
He appears everywhere. So why I like the movie up until that point, the feature length film up to that point, because he was just a sick fuck. And I feel like that could happen. But then when you start saying, oh, he's a demon and he can come back to life.
When they start doing the supernatural
When they
shit.
start doing the supernatural shit, I'm like, let's just leave him as a sick fuck.
Yeah.
And find a different way out of this. If you don't want to kill him and you want to leave room for a sequel, find a different way out of it.
Whoever the coroner was or the doctor should be fired. And I hope swift action was taken in regards to that person's employment, or they were given a formal warning of some kind.
The person who pronounced him dead at the scene.
Yeah. That person should probably get a stern talking to. Shoddy work.
Did you like the movie?
Yes and no. I thought the special effects were really cool. I did like it. Kind of reminded me of a movie that would have fit well like in the early 80s, like just the way it looked, like the colors. I liked that, but I thought the story itself wasn't very interesting. I found it predictable and I just found it kind of boring. It was kind of the same thing over and over again.
Did you also think that the warehouse that they were running around in was like the biggest building in the history of buildings?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how many rooms does this have? How many basements does this have?
Yeah, I just thought it kind of dragged on. Towards the end, I found myself I was like, all right, let's wrap this up.
And there was just weird shit that was weird just to be weird, like the homeless woman.
Yeah,
who was like with the baby doll.
But all the gore,
logic.
The gore effects.
It was really gory,
really cool. Like that was.
Yeah, if you're looking for a gory film, this is it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a film this gory in a long time.
But as far as like what I say, it's a good movie. No, like will I watch it again? Probably not.
No. If they made another one, would I watch it?
Yeah,
Probably.
maybe.
There's nothing to care about in regards to the characters.
Not really. Yeah,
No.
yeah, exactly. Like,
No.
there's no characters you're really rooting for.
But it's intense. There are some moments where you're like, this is fucking intense.
Yeah, there was stuff that made me genuinely uncomfortable.
How many Mrs. Voorhees heads do you give it?
Probably 2.5.
2.5
out of 5.
out of 5.
That sounds about right. Yeah, two and a
2.5
half.
out of
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
All right, so if you're looking for gore, check out Terrifier.
Terrifier.
Terrifier, yeah.
Or Terrorizer.
Whatever.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. It's an interesting film. I think if this is this guy's, well, I think it's his second feature length film, but if this is like his first like full, like, because the other one was like an anthology. If this is like his first full length film, I think it's a good
Agreed.
entry.
Yeah.
But don't keep with this Art the Clown bullshit. Let's do something
Yeah,
else.
come up with a new character or a new
or
story.
a new
Like,
plot
do something,
and
do something new.
use your vision for gore.
Yeah.
That, you know what movie did gore really well? Did you see The Green Inferno?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was gory. Did you see that one?
No.
Eli Roth did this movie.
Oh, if it's
His
Eli
stuff's always
Roth,
gory.
then
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean it made the Hostel look pedestrian. I mean, it's basically, what was that? What was that? Cannibal Holocaust. It's basically Cannibal Holocaust done nowadays. It's this
Yeah.
group of people that get caught by cannibals down in South America.
yeah.
But that's gory.
Yeah. That
But
one
it was a good. I don't want to say it was a good movie. It was a cannibal movie.
kind of similar to Terrifier in the like, yeah, it's gory, worth checking out. Like, but would I watch it again? Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. There's very few gory movies that I'd
Yeah.
watch again, because they make you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
If they're done really well. If they're
Yeah.
done well, they make you feel uncomfortable. So I think Green Inferno is like that, but I like the fact that it was that story, right? Like, if this guy who did Terrifier or women or whoever's involved in the making of this Terrifier, if they use their skills to make another different type of movie, they could incorporate elements of their creativity into that.
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
Mhm.
Agreed.
I like gore, but I like almost like cartoony type gore. When it's realistic, I'm
Like
like,
the
oh,
Italians.
Where it's almost funny.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's like when the Italians do it. So like, like Lucio Fulci in those movies.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
those directors.
Where like where it's like gory, but the blood looks fake. Like,
yeah, it's like super bright red.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's almost like, it's paint.
Yeah.
It's red paint.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when this no face chick rips off this chick's face at the beginning, you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like when you get on a roller coaster and you realize I probably shouldn't have got on here.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. But then, I just pretty much had to watch the entire thing.
Yep. I felt the same way.
But I've seen a lot of good shorts on YouTube. I would suggest anybody go type in like horror film shorts, and there's some people. There's a lot of stinkers out there too.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some people that have good ideas, and I
Mhm.
think if given the money, given the time, given the I don't know, resources, they could create something a little bit better.
And that's how I felt about the Terrifier short. It almost felt like an audition kind
Yeah.
of movie. Like, hey, here's like a little taste of,
And I'm sure
of
that's
what I could do. And
that's
yeah, maybe
what it
that was
was.
its original intent.
And again, getting back to that, I think for what it was, it did a good job.
Yeah, for sure.
I couldn't make that movie.
No.
I wouldn't make that movie.
Yeah, no.
Why does he go to public bathrooms and shit and piss everywhere?
Hey, who does that? That's inconsiderate. Like,
This
someone
guy,
has to clean that up.
That's
Like,
terrifying
that's
in and of
not- yeah,
itself.
that's not cool. Like,
That
come
guy's
on,
like,
man.
I don't get paid enough for that. I am not. The guy even says that
Yeah,
too.
he's
He's
like,
like,
"Ugh."
fuck that. I ain't cleaning it up.
Yeah, and she's like, he did that in your bathroom. He's like, not my bathroom.
Yeah.
Let's work here.
Yeah, the acting was okay in those movies too.
Yeah, I
Even the
agree.
short film. I mean, it was all right.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
You rarely get like, really great actors in horror films. So
Yeah. It got the job done.
yeah, when someone can hold their own, it's always a nice plus.
Yeah.
So if there's any short films that you want to recommend to us or films on Netflix. Oh, what? I'm sorry. I gotta bring this up before I close it. There are 2 films on Netflix that I watched recently one's called Creep and Creep 2. The sequel, and those are actually pretty good movies. I would recommend those. You guys haven't seen them, so I don't really want to talk about them right now. But if you guys get a chance to watch those movies. We can talk about those.
Cool.
I think the first one's better than the second one, but I think they're both pretty good.
Are they pretty recent?
Yeah, last couple of years. I always like getting recommendations from people regarding, especially like Netflix, because there's tons of shit movies on Netflix, like tons. And I always go to the horror genre, and I'm like, this is all crap. But if someone tells me something's good, I will take them up on their recommendation. So if you have any ideas for horror movies that we can watch on Netflix or streaming on YouTube, or any short horror films that you like, please drop us a line. Where can they reach us, David?
You can reach us through our website at www.theswearwolves.com. You can tweet us at the Swearwolves, or you can email us directly at swearwolvespodcast at gmail.com.
And follow us on Facebook, right?
Oh, yeah, and Facebook, yep, the Swearwolves.
The Swearwolves. So that's about it. I'm going to wrap up this episode of the Swearwolves. Episode number 3 is in the can. I'm Bret.
I'm David.
I'm Alan.
And we'll see you guys next time.